Then welcome everybody. Welcome to Talk to Tino. Today we've got another fantastic guest. You see, this is the thing. This is a theme now. I don't know if people have got happening, but every week we've got a fantastic guest. So I hope that they're appreciative of this. So this is your chance to shine. So Johnny, I want you to introduce yourself. Big voice, clear, loud. I want you to say what you're all about, and I want you to just say something to the people.
Listen, I'm here. My name is Johnny, obviously. How can I say this? I've known Tino for a while.
You've known me for a while. You have, yes.
Yes, I've known him at his worst and his best.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's gonna have to be bleeped out, by the way, at his worst. No, no. But no, you have known me for a while, Johnny. And today, what we're gonna discuss, me and you, Johnny, we're gonna talk about communication and taking in information. So
Wonderful.
I think a lot of issues that a lot of people have is they feel like they're not listened to. I think it's very important to feel that you're listened to. I think sometimes it comes a long way. It's like half the battle, if you will. Especially when you've got a lot of issues and you've got a lot of problems. It's not nice telling people that you've got issues and problems because you become vulnerable. But what's worse is then opening up to people and telling them you've got issues and problems, and then them not listening because you feel what was the point of me telling you that? Why did you ask if you're not going to listen? That was so pointless. So communication is so key. Like, are you keeping in contact with the people that are closest to you? Are you listening to them when they talk? Are you like emotionally available? Are you being honest with them? A lot of this plays a part in just, I suppose, especially in this modern age, mental health is a big thing. So people are still trying to figure out what it is, I suppose. So listening is a big part of that. So I just want to talk to you, Johnny. Like what when I say that to you, like what's the first thing that comes to mind? Or how do you even start that sentence?
Yeah, when I think about human nature, one of the biggest things that we want is just to be listened to, because with listening comes that feeling of being understood.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I relate it to myself, I think I want to be listened to just because I want to know if I'm being understood.
Absolutely, absolutely.
For
Yeah.
example, I'm sure whether it's with your parents or your friends, you've had that situation where you tell them something, they either misinterpret it or they just don't really get what you said.
Yeah. I think the big thing that you said there is that whether it's with your parents or the reason I'm picking up on the parents thing is because people's circumstances and situations at home are different. That's one of the things that's big for me. I think people take for granted maybe their position in society, if you will. They could be in a comfortable position and they can get along with their friends. Everything sort of goes swimmingly. Everything's good. Everything goes well. But it's difficult because other people then don't pick up or they see that their position is normal. They feel it's normal. They think it's normality. That think that everybody else's his position is exactly the same. So I think that's an issue because you can say a problem to somebody, but they probably won't feel it how you might feel it, or they'll react in a different type of way. So it won't really not necessarily get through to them, but you may not get through as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
I've got some statistics here that I want you to sort of take in. So I've got a statistic here or a point here, and it states that research shows that the average person listens to only about 25% efficiency. So 25%, if you're speaking for 100 minutes, somebody's only listening to 25 of those minutes. That's an issue to me. I don't know the neurological science behind the brain and how it functions and all this. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a doctor, obviously, but that's an issue to me. Like, if people listen to 25, I mean, they do say obviously a large percentage of communication is obviously body language and things like that. It's actually not the words that come out now. But communication is so important as well in terms of verbal communication to obviously relay a message in terms of trying to really put down exactly how someone feels. So a typical study points out that a lot of us spend 70 to 80% of our walking hours in some form of communication. Of that time, we spend 9% writing, 16% reading, 30% speaking, and 45% listening. So it's a large percent listening. But of that percent listening, we're only listening 25%. So, so it's just a bit crazy because this is the thing about mental health. No one knows what it is. And by that, obviously, people know what mental health is, but they can't sort of pinpoint things, and they're still figuring out how it affects people differently and things like that, you know. But of that, 25% of the information that you sort of say, on average, of course, this doesn't apply to every single person, is actually being taken in. That's crazy. That's crazy. What that says to me is more efficiency in obviously delivering a message. So you have to be more efficient and be more blunt. This is how I'm feeling. But the issue with that is sometimes if you're feeling, you know, let's say you're feeling depressed, I'm depressed because this has happened in my life. So that's
Yeah.
not easy to say. So I think that's a big barrier and that's an issue. And I want to normalize that. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if you've asked the question and you've asked me personally, for example, how I'm feeling, and you want to know how I'm
Mhm.
feeling, either listen to how I'm feeling or don't ask me. Or because I feel like a lot of people ask in order to sort of give themselves that self gratification that they've done what they felt that they should have done in order to be a good friend.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. Just that it's about obviously trying to help solve the issue. So you know, it's you're not expected to listen to every single issue and problem, one like that. So obviously I do exaggerate slightly when I say don't ask me, but what I really mean by that, to be specific, is be willing to sort of offer a lending ear to the extent that you can, and be clear about how much of that ear you can extend, so that you don't feel too burdened, and at the same time you help. So it's a bit give and take, I suppose, in that scenario, which obviously depending on someone's emotional state is different. It's difficult. But what would you say, like in the experiences that you might have had, like feeling down, you would have approached that scenario? Or what are your experiences of sort of maybe like talking to someone if you're feeling down, like communication and people listening to you?
Well, I think personally for me, because I'm not really the type of person to open up. Like for me, unless I'm talking to, obviously I consider you my best friend. Unless
Yeah,
I'm talking to people like you, I'm not really trying to open up. But even then, I find it quite difficult because you don't know if someone's going to judge you. You don't know if someone's going to look at you differently.
yeah,
And also, just don't know if you're going to get the right answers. And I think that's quite important. Like, it's not about making you feel better. It's about you getting the right answers, no matter how bad it can be. Like,
yeah,
obviously, I've been in some dark places and whatnot. So I know how it feels when you're not feeling that people are hearing you out.
absolutely. Yeah,
And yeah, I think that's quite important. You just want to feel like you're listened to, but
yeah,
it's hard, especially if you don't know the person. Am I right?
absolutely, absolutely. Do you know
Yeah.
what it is as well? I think like for me, being listened to, like it adds, there's some value added to it. I feel
Mm.
I feel like people care about me when they listen to me. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the
You need
king,
to
man. I feel
recognize it. Yeah.
that's why I feel like Henry VIII. I feel like I feel like anything. I feel like I can do what I want. Do you know what I mean?
Now, Henry VIII was a bad man.
That was a bad one. Henry VIII did what he wanted. Like, I feel like Henry VIII, but when people actually sit there and take time to actually listen to me and actually value what's about to come out of my mouth, I think to
Mm.
myself, well, thank you. Thank you so
Mm.
much. I feel fantastic. And I feel like for me, it's like if it's not real and it's not authentic, information taken, I just feel like, well, that's it's all in my head then. Do you know what I mean? Like
No,
you haven't actually
exactly.
listened to me. The feeling is not real, and I hate that. I hate that. I try to be as real as possible, if you will, or like I use a better word. And I want to feel like Henry VIII every day. I mean, obviously I know he murdered his wives. I'm not trying to say. I know Henry VIII is not a great example,
Oh,
but what I'm trying to
yeah.
say, I'm trying to feel like a king. Okay, I'm trying to say, obviously Henry VIII had a lot of power and just did what he wanted to do. I mean, that's what history tells us anyway. So I'm trying to have that feeling, that self love and self. you know, being able to be on top of the world feeling type of vibe by, you know, being valued. And I think the relationships that you have are important because if you've got people willing to listen to you, that's great. That's amazing, you know. And you should also feel in a position where um you should be able to tell them how you feel in order to sort of help yourself if you are in a dark place. I think that's what I'm trying to normalize. I want that normal. I want that to be normal. I want everyone to go out and go to bashment and go to carnival. I want everyone to catch wines. I want everyone to catch wines together and tell each other how they feel. This is my view of the world. No, honestly, obviously, I'm making jokes here, but honestly, I want it to be normal. I want everyone to be on the train ride, to the London Underground, to Notting Hill Carnival. I want everyone to be, off their melons, man. I want everyone to be intoxicated to the maximum, and everyone's like, oh man, I'm having a good time, And they go, oh yeah,
Mm.
what about you, Jeff? Yeah, it's all right. Tim, yeah, it's not that great, mate. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really feeling it today. I'm powering through. Oh no, bro. How do you feel? Like, do you want to talk about it? Because your health is more important than us going out and getting wasted. Just that togetherness, that working together. I think goes a long way, innit? I know
Exactly.
maybe not the best example, but yeah. Hopefully, I've got my point across about communication and taking in what people's issues are.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that let's make a that is non-incriminating. Let's say, for example, let's say Leon. If Leon says to
Okay.
me, "Oh, Johnny, you know what? Yeah, free Magnum is gonna sort you out differently."
Do you know what? Jimmy, just a quick point there. I like where you're going with this story, but I feel like, listen, we might have a Leon listening. Can we go with some classical names? Let's have a Henry VIII. So
Okay.
Henry VIII says he wants a Magnum today, and
Okay.
LeBron James, what did he say? What's his response to that? This is a fantasy island where Henry VIII and LeBron James are together. Just accept it, people. It's happening. Okay, we're not changing it for no one. It's happening. So LeBron is there and Henry VIII is there. What's
Yeah. So,
happening?
so Henry VIII has just offered LeBron James a Magnum.
Of course.
LeBron James is
And
thinking,
Magnum, sorry,
"I'm not."
is an alcoholic beverage, by the way. For those of you who don't know, you can purchase it in your local Bossman shop. It is £3.69, about 40% of alcohol. No, it's less than that. It's like 17 actually.
No,
Quite nice.
17. Yeah.
17% alcohol, quite nice taste. You can mix it in with usually Caribbean Crush, tastes the best. Please
Yeah.
proceed.
Or any alcohol of your choice. It gives you a good time.
It gives you a good time.
But no, LeBron James says, "Yeah, do you know what, Henry VIII? I want a Magnum." And Henry
Absolutely.
VIII says, "Do you want 2 or 3?" LeBron James says, "I want Carnival. Give me 3 Magnum."
Naturally.
And before you know it, he's whining on the rooftops. Simple as that. Exactly. And problem solved. Then the morning after, you talk to him. You listen to his problems. It's important to listen. If you have to write things down, you can. It's not criminal, or it's not too try hard to write down things that you
No,
can't
it's not.
remember.
It's really not. No.
But yeah, it's just so important. And I think as well, something that will encourage your friends to open up is just the fact where you put in the effort to be able to make them feel like you are actually their friend. I think that's so important. When we talk about friends, friends care for each other, and friends listen to each other, even if it's quite difficult. Like I wouldn't say you, for example, but I have had some hard things
Yeah.
coming from my friends that I've grown up with, friends that I know like the back of my hand. And you kind of sit there and you almost feel guilty because you just think, oh, why wasn't I able to access that part of them before? Or why weren't they able to open up to me? But in reality, because of the generation we live in, it's actually quite hard to open up, especially in person. I
Yeah, it
think
is.
what you find, especially people people who are our age,
Yeah,
we just find it quite of a science to open up.
I completely agree. Do you want to think? I think
Mm.
there's that hint of, obviously it's not normalized. Maybe that embarrassment the persona, that toxic masculinity type of behavior. But it's not just. I don't think it's just a male issue. I don't know. I think it's just all genders. It affects all genders. Like it's hard to tell someone how exactly you want to feel because I suppose there's that aspect of not wanting to burden someone with your problems. But I think you indirectly burden someone with your issues, even if you don't open up, because they still have to
Yeah.
be around you and be around your vibe. And like I said, a lot of communication is by body language. If you're saying, you're looking all sad and your vibe is off and everyone's trying to get excited for something, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not working. Clearly you're not happy. Something's off. Talk about it.
Exactly.
And obviously it's
Exactly.
difficult because you just don't know how someone's gonna feel, how someone's gonna judge, and especially if those people close to you, you don't want to be close to someone, open up, and then finding out that they don't agree with how you feel or what you said, and then now let's say you obviously can't be with them anymore, like hang around with them because they've got different energy to yourself and things like that.
Mm.
I'm not advocating people to start, breaking friendships or anything like that. I'm just saying, obviously, sometimes it's I'm just to clarify, but I'm just saying sometimes it's hard to do that, but to open up people close because of that fear. But I think that fear will only set you back.
Mm.
Everybody's always going to have an opinion. It's very easily done. Like everyone says the same thing as well. To be fair, I know I just said it myself, but I hate that saying. Everyone's always going to have an opinion. It doesn't help
Then why
anything.
did you say it?
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't help. I know. Imagine I said it as well. I think it's just a bloody saying. Everyone's going to have an opinion. I think people already know that. It's not. It's everyone having an opinion is not the issue. The issue is how they're going to react to your opinion because it affects you at the end of the day. So I completely understand where people are coming from. But I think what people need to be telling people rather than, oh, everyone's going to have an opinion is it's going to be tough, but don't worry because you are also tough. Nothing bad lasts forever. And regardless of whether you choose to or you don't choose
Mm.
to, you're always going to have to deal with tough situations that come in your life. But the beauty of it is as you get on, you adapt naturally to all scenarios and you get tougher naturally. Whether it's a small amount or a large amount, it's just a fact of life. You get tougher. That's just how it works. I think if someone told me that, a lot of my challenges I would have done them a lot earlier because they were absolutely right. My challenges haven't got smaller. If anything, they
Yeah,
got larger. So have I.
of course.
So I just deal with them because I've learned to adjust and I can, and it's very different for so many different people. It's different for everyone, but just knowing that helps so much, especially when you tell it how it is, not how you've read it in a book or seen it on an advert or seen it advertised somewhere, or how the GP who doesn't know you personally has
It's
said it.
it's not a
That's the issue.
generic,
Yeah, it's not
yeah, not
generic. It's not
generic
generic.
approach. Yeah,
100%. It's individual. It's person centered. So yeah, 100%. I think it's an important part of understanding that communication, that willingness to open up, and also the listening side of things as well. Would you say that on average people listen to you?
that's a good question, Tino. That's a very good question. Do people
But it's
listen to
true.
me?
Do people actually listen to that? Do they actually like? Are you actually listening to what I'm saying? That's what I wonder sometimes. Did you actually listen to what I just said? Did you actually take that information in?
I had
Because
to take it in.
opening up is not easy. So if I've just opened up to you and you've asked me what's wrong and I've just told you, I'm frustrated because I'm like, well, you didn't really listen to what I just said, did you?
Yeah,
So why do you ask me to? That's what I think. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, well, I don't want to open up now. Like, what for? You just
honestly, it's true. It's true. Like, and you know when, for example, yeah, you say something, but someone immediately misquotes you. Say, for example, like I'll just use the classic parent situation. You say something to your mom or dad, and they say, "Oh, so what you're saying is ABC," and you're just thinking, "But I said DEF."
exactly.
How did you come to that conclusion? You
How did you?
literally
How
just
did
said
you?
it to
You
them
just yeah.
2 seconds ago, and they've just twisted it, and you're thinking, "I don't know what you've been smoking," but at the same time, I
I
think
would
that you
I
need
would
to
like
listen.
some because obviously where it's taking you is cuckoo land. You know what I mean?
And you've got to think about it as well. At the time, your parents want to hear something else.
They
And
want
that
to
is why
yeah.
they misquote you. And
Yeah.
that can also happen with your friends,
Your
your
friends, everyone,
cousins, your
so many
brothers,
people,
your
literally.
sisters.
One thing I don't like is the comparisons that people sometimes make. Everybody assumes that we're all from similar backgrounds and
Mm,
everything works the same. That especially, well, I don't. It's not that I don't blame people, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. It's hard to imagine that you can both be from a similar area. Let's say if you're both from middle class backgrounds, and one person can have a very traumatic upbringing with, I'm feeling low, so but I come from a household where we don't talk about emotions. I can't tell that I need to see a therapist. Someone will think, "What do you mean? Of course you can talk about that. Just dial this man, just do it." Do you know what I mean?
but they're
You
seeing
don't
it from their
they're seeing it
perspective.
from their perspective. They don't understand how hard that is for someone else to get that
Exactly.
across. And it's
There's no
just something,
empathy there.
yeah, there's no empathy there. And it's just like, it's not because that person's being horrible. They just don't understand. And it's understandable why they don't understand because it's not talked about enough. One, it's like a taboo subject because it's always seen as deep. Oh, that's a bit deep still. It's heavy. Like I wasn't ready for that. But that's life, because being happy is a choice. We don't have to choose to be upset all the time and things like this. Obviously, there's certain scenarios where you can't help because sometimes information is new to you and it's quite raw and it's brutal and it's sort of like overwhelming to uh, what's it called, to process at the time. So it provides us with pain and feeling of anguish when we cry and so forth. But the rest, it's just like we don't choose to be deep, but life is deep. So why do you choose to then associate someone's emotion with deepness? Like, oh, it's a bit deep. I wasn't ready for that. Like, I don't think that's I don't think that's right. I think just
No, but I get
honestly,
you.
yeah. Yeah, honesty goes a long
Yeah,
way just to say what you're willing to listen to, how much you're willing to help, so that person knows where they are. And I think it was both ways and said that that person who's hurting obviously has also a duty, which obviously may not be easy or in some cases um, very extremely difficult depending on their mental health state.
it's true to know, honestly. Like, if I can maybe simplify your example, say I've just met you and we've been living on the planet for about, let's just say, 21 years. We've met each other, we've been living on the planet for 21 years.
Yeah.
I've been getting dead trims all my life, as in, you've met me and my hairline is looking like Mount Everest. Like,
Oh my goodness.
it's a real life representation of Mount Everest. But you've been living in this beautiful city every day. You get a beautiful trim. Your hairline's doing up Pythagoras theorem. As in, I can do maths on your hairline. That's how good it is. I say to you,
It's equilateral triangles and that, just like the
exactly,
magic shape up.
exactly.
For those of you who don't understand, sorry, disclaimer, a equilateral triangle is a triangle where all sides are the same. So the reason that we use this terminology to describe a very shaped haircut is usually to do with Black African or Black Caribbean men when they go to the barbers, and after going to the barbers, they have what is called a shape up, which enhances the hairline on the front
And
and the sides of their head, and usually if you have what is called a very good barber. There's a song actually about how good a barber can be. It's called Don't Cheat on Your Barber, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know the
yes,
song? Yes, that's the song. So
yes.
I'm sure you guys can find that on YouTube. So what we're trying to explain here is when someone has a haircut that is sharp to that extent, we use the terminology Pythagoras theorem to reflect the sharpness of their trim and how good it is. When someone's trim is not quite to the Pythagoras theorem state, Mount Everest is usually the use of term for the lack of perfection in the shaping of that trim, and we then refer to as an Everest trim. For the V line hairline at the front of the forehead, it's quite wonky, to which you
No,
would
you're not
identify. So everyone,
serious.
I just want people to look out for bad trims. Okay, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to change the world here. Okay, that's what I'm doing. No, no, no. On a serious note, I know what you mean. I know what you're getting at. I know what you're
Mm.
getting at. Yeah, it's
And you know what I'm gonna say, aren't you? Obviously, you'll come up to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, your hairline is finished."
I would say something like that.
Yeah,
Obviously, if we're in the same level of banter, we understand each other. There's something I would say, of course, yes. If you had a bad trip, I would tell you that.
Exactly. Especially being the honest person that you are.
Yes.
And I would say to you that, well, this is my situation. I would say, for example, where I'm living or the quality of barbers in my area, I just can't get a good trim. And you'll be like, well, I don't understand it because all my life, I've never known not to have a hairline that isn't able to calculate GCSE maths, for example. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and that is exactly the same for mental health. And it's sad in a way, but it's something that you need experience in to tackle because you can't read someone's head. You're not, X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not Magneto. You can't read people's minds and you can't get into their heads.
That's
So-
Professor X, but I still, I want.
It's both, though. It's both.
But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Listen, I think
yeah.
I think just to summarize the point, obviously that we're making here. I know that we've used hairlines as a way to define to define mental health. But that's what we do on
point
Talks
is,
with Tino. Yeah.
if we're referring to the topic of the conversation, it's about listening. Listening is not just opening your ears. It's about taking in information, relaying it so that people can feel appreciated, understood,
Absolutely.
and then making sure that you talk to a person in a way whereby they feel like they've given you that information and you can take that information for the future to be able to help them out. And that's the most
Absolutely.
important thing. Yeah. And it isn't just about the first time listening to them. It's about the consistency of maybe just being their person to talk to, or if necessary, doing things that can continue to help them be in a better headspace.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better
Yeah.
myself. That is what it's about. Obviously, we use humor as a way to sort of soften the blow, but I think if it's a hard topic to talk about, then definitely we should soften the blow and make it easier to talk about. I think the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, hopefully the easier it becomes for people that do struggle to open up and feel, that they can help themselves, because they can help themselves. I've really enjoyed this episode with you, Johnny. Before we finish off, I wanna play a quick game with you.
Oh, God.
I want to play a quick. Absolutely, this is what we're doing.
Lord help me.
I want to play a quick game with you. So I'm gonna give you, people with different trims. And what you have to do, you have to pick who you think the better trim is.
Listen,
And
Handy, let's go.
okay, you ready? Okay, perfect. All right. So the first one, Fernandinho or Phil Foden?
Phil Foden.
Phil Foden. Okay, Phil Foden it is. We've got Miley Cyrus or Ariana Grande. Who's got the better trim? I'm sure the girls might like this one. I try to. Maybe they don't like Miley Cyrus or Ariana, but I'm just saying.
Miley Cyrus has a similar trim to some of my boys, so Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande. Okay.
Yeah.
And the next one is Will Smith or Michael B. Jordan. They've got very good shape ups.
Okay.
They've got very good shape ups. Oh, he's really. And Will Smith has got very good shape up, and he's 50.
Tino, that's like choosing between Nyama and Madura.
For those that don't understand, Nyama is a traditional. If you listen to last week's episode of Talks with Tino, we spoke about a full African. The Nyama is a beef stew marinated with spices, nice soft texture. I'm just educating people. This is how we connect. We're accepting each other's differences. On that note, Johnny, I'm glad I've had a bit of fun with you today. I'm glad that I've talked to you about obviously communication. I've talked to you about how well we listen as people and how we take in information, how we need to sort of open up ourselves up more, to our friends and our families and just being positive is so important, especially with the sun coming out, coming out of lockdown. It's been so difficult for everyone. So I want everyone to just, if take anything from today, just take the fact that, you do matter, you are important. And if you feel down, don't be afraid to talk to someone about it, because and that's it. I
Exactly.
mean, any last words to the people before we conclude our episode of Talks with Tino this week?
Well, I think that considering the topic of conversation, it's appropriate to say, if you're not already doing it, listen to Talks with Tino.
I like what you did there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like what that. I just want to know. I didn't pay him to say this. He just said it himself. You know, this is this is what I like to hear. Thank you so much. Now, on that note, thank you so much, Johnny, for coming on the show. Listen, everybody, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And if you're not, don't worry, it will get better. And thank you so much for listening if you've tuned in. And as always, as we love to say on Talks with Tino, be kind to your mind. Goodbye, everybody.